Eustace, the Eustace? What is the problem?
Well, the problem for one is the government. Like I didn't have a problem until the government invaded my home and told me that I couldn't continue donating my life to teaching children. That's the big deal. And so now I have a problem because the government has made a problem for me. They say it's for health and safety, but we haven't had any health issues. We haven't had any safety issues. Everybody's been fine. Everybody's been healthier and safer because they've come here. They learn how to live this way. If they have a hurricane and they can't use their flush toilet, well, we teach them how to use the toilet safely outside, I had a 14-year-old boy come here to camp, and he had never peed outside in his entire life, not one time. And so this is what I'm finding is important to teach, just about natural living, and how to do it with understanding and confidence. And so my problem is the government. My problem is the interference with my life's work. What I do is teach people to enrich their lives and make their life better. And I've been doing that here on this site for over 26 years. And everything's been working great. Till one day the government comes in with a big raid, a whole string of cars going back down the road as far as you can see. And they came in and they blocked my entrance, took over my home for half a day. They went through everything I had. A couple of them had guns, and they just demanded access to everything in the name of health and safety. They said we had dangerous buildings out here. And then they did an expensive report that cost the taxpayers $1,500 for that report. And the report has a picture of my dog's house in it and says that a person is living in there and it needs to have plumbing and electricity and a sprinkler system for a person to live in there. I said, this is a dog's house. And yet the taxpayers are paying for this report and this assessment by a specialist, and I'm suffering the consequences of it. They gave me a cease and desist order, told me that I can't have people come onto the property. I can't have them come near my buildings. Can't feed anybody. They can't eat the natural food. They can't have goat's milk here. They can't have cow's milk here. They can't have butter or kefir or yogurt. They can't eat the eggs that are raised on the farm. They can't eat the meat that's raised on the farm. They can't drink the water that comes in the spring. The spring water bubbles up. And so basically, they won't let us have a building that we build with the logs from the farm. They've taken away all the human rights that go back through the span of all recorded history into prehistory, so that we can't live as natural human beings. I personally think that's an inalienable human right. We should all have that ability. And yet the U.S. government, of people that have told us for years and years that this is the home of the free and the land of the brave, have their people cowering, afraid to be caught doing things like sharing their homegrown milk and their eggs. And they have to hide that they're building something in their house, For thousands and thousands of years, that was a passing right into manhood to be able to provide a shelter for their family. And now Americans don't know how to build a shelter because the laws have made them incapable, to the point the very laws that are supposed to be helping people, are now making it so that the people are so weak and incapable that you have a weak nation that's going to fall apart. And the people are weak in spirit because they don't even know oftentimes that they have given up their birthright as a human being to do the most basic things of existence.
What can you do now? What is your strategy if you want to?
Well, I'm trying to figure that out. Honestly, there's different options. What 99% of the population does, maybe 99.999999, is to figure out some way of bowing, saying, excuse me, I'm sorry, and I'll adjust and I'll fix that. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. But I don't think that's the right option. I think somebody needs to stand their ground and point it out to the fellow citizens that we need to do something about it, and that the government has gotten too far out of control. Like one of the photographs in this report that the taxpayers paid so much for is of a little wooden box seat that I made for my mom. She's 82 years old, and I have a 5-gallon bucket that goes up underneath there. So in the middle of the night, because she has a health problem, she has an incontinence issue where she has to pee in the middle of the night. She can't hold it. So I wanted this to make her life better, easier, safer. Wanted a kind gesture to put that right beside her bed. So they found that. Oh, look, evidence! And they took pictures of it, and they presented that publicly and said, this is illegal. You can't do this. This is unacceptable. We're going to press criminal charges. So for me, I'm getting criminal charges threatened against me because I'm taking care of my 82-year-old mother. If you just look at that one story, that's just a tiny piece of this. There's something so wrong with that we need to reevaluate and change everything that's going on here.
And they, in essence, they want you to tear down the buildings.
That's one.
And then to rebuild them, which is, of course, you know.
They don't care if I rebuild them or not. They just say tear them down.
But that would finish Turtle Island. Right?
That would finish me. Spirit. I've struggled so hard to make this place go. I've worked with like an impossible budget, probably 1 to 2% of what most education centers like this have operated on, and I've just done it by working without hardly even sleeping for years. I haven't had a day off in 7 years myself. And it's not because I don't want a day off. I'd be happy to have a day off. There's just too much work to do, and I don't have the money to pay anybody to do it. And it's richly meaningful to be able to do it myself, but that's my limitation. I don't have the money to get help. So they say, yeah, just tear it all down, and that would finish me. And it's not just me. I've never told anybody this before, but my neighbor down the road, I haven't even talked to him about it, but he was building a very beautiful playhouse for his 6-year-old daughter to play in and have fantasies and imagine, oh, I've got my own little home. My daddy took care of me. He loves me. My daddy is the man that can make life good and help things out. And so he was building this, and he had almost finished it. And the local inspector found that and came and told him, tear it down, take it all down. This is illegal activity. You can't have this building in your yard here. And board by board, he took it apart. And I'm sure every nail he pulled and every board he took off just emasculated his manhood and took away his spirit. And what is his daughter going to think in her deep psychology for the rest of her life? My daddy doesn't have control. You know, my dad can't make a building. My dad took it away from me, you know. So she had that great hope and that faith in her provider, and it was just dashed, you know. So maybe on the surface, maybe that doesn't sound too bad to somebody, but for a person that studies human psychology, the human spirit, and social anthropology is my background, that's a terrible, terrible disgrace. And that's our government trying to do good to help the people.